Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Erik Ten Hag makes a defiant stand against the critics, and I for one am behind him and I hope you are as well. Lots to unpick on this morning, as well as a fantastic comment from one of you last night that I read late last night. I thought I've got to bring it into the show about Marcus Rashford and how it's very obvious that the team is better without him, and a very interesting observation about it, which you probably only would pick up if you've actually played football at any level. Very interesting. We'll talk about that. Also going to talk about Bruno Fernandes, this Player FC nonsense, some of the quotes from Erik Ten Hag. But look, I think that again, Erik Ten Hag, after the game last night, came out with an absolute banger when he said, we were in control. Did you see panic? Yes, there were unacceptable moments in the game where we've conceded goals, but you know what? Back of the net, Manchester United get the game gun. Apologies for the intros. I don't know what's going on with YouTube at the moment. It just seems to be massive delay in the start of the stream, which cuts off the start. I don't know what's going on. Apologies. We'll look into that. But my point stands that Erik Ten Hag has come out defiantly and said, look, these players are with me. I'm with the club. I want to stay here. It's really time, certainly for the fan base, but I think also probably for INEOS as well. You've got to start making a fucking decision. Like, what are you waiting for? Oh, you're waiting for it to see if a dishevelled, bewildered and injury-hit team loses to Arsenal. Of course we're probably going to lose to Arsenal. We might lose to Palace as well. If you can't make a decision based on Man United at the moment as a fan or Sir Jim Radcliffe, what are you waiting for unless your decision's already made out? Because I don't know what more you're looking for. I look at this nonsense that gets thrown at communities like this about it being toxic and agenda-driven. And you got these sad twats who are sat there with record on their video, on their phone, waiting for a section that they can take out of context so they can get a few retweets and say, oh, United stands so toxic. We've been behind this manager for 2 years. We're behind this team if they perform on the pitch. There's nothing toxic about that. You've got journalists tweeting sack the manager during games. You've got journalists giving players that they don't like crappy player ratings and good player ratings to the players that are giving them information. It's bullshit what's actually going on out there. But what I want to say is, at what point do you just be a supporter of this football club? Because I think we've lost that. I think the one thing that the Glazers have taken away from this football club is the ability to celebrate Manchester United winning games. What do you think Sheffield Wednesday fans are doing? What do you think Rotherham fans are doing? What do you think Norwich fans are doing? Do you think they go into every game and go, well, we won it, but I'm not going to celebrate it because I didn't like the way we scored that goal. He could have passed it better and we could have moved the ball about a bit better. We've been shit for 10 years because of the Glazers. We win a game of football, whether it's Coventry, Sheffield United, and I bloody love it because I love this football club. And I don't know why there is so much misery amongst this vocal minority in our fan base who are just toxically dragging it down into the gutter with the press. For what reason? For what end? To cause another upheaval, to make us spend a load of money on a load of new players whilst we still keep these ones. We're Manchester United. There should be a siege mentality. I look at that game last night. I see Harry Maguire. I see Bruno Fernandes. I see Dalot. I see Garnacho. I see Maino. I see Rasmus. They're all fighting for the club, and yet there's nobody else there because they're injured or they're not. And that is not the same as the last days of Jose, the last days of Oli, the last days of Rangnick. That is actually what Ten Hag said. We didn't panic, we kept going and we believed in ourselves. We are a wounded animal. We are a wounded animal. We're crawling towards the finish line. We've got no squad. We've got so many people that haven't turned up this season. And as fans, you've got to ask yourself, why do you support Manchester United? Why do you support Manchester United? What is it you think supporting Manchester United is all about? Because we seem to have gone down this avenue, and Arsenal fans did this when Arteta was building something. Arteta, get your T-shirts out. But what was the end game there? What was it you were trying to achieve? This utopia of perfect football, where you batter teams 6-0 with perfect football and you win every trophy you enter. Like, you've got to live in the reality. Why do you support Manchester United? Do you support Manchester United because your granddad worshipped the Busby Babes and you were taught about it and you've just fell in love with the club? Do you support them because they won the treble? Do you support them because you think they're the best team in the world and they must win all the time? Do you support them because you're from Manchester? Is it a family thing? Do you just love the football club and the story? Why do you support Manchester United? Because if you do support Manchester United, then surely when they win games, No matter how we win games, it kicks in, my team won. I mean, you've got Prats last night and on Sunday saying, well, I wish we'd lose. We should have lost to Coventry because I think they deserve to win. We should lose. It's embarrassing, Sheffield United. You know, we should lose that game. You know, why? What has happened to us? What are these? What is the mentality behind that? Because all I'll hear is, well, there's nothing wrong with us wanting to lose to get better. We've been doing this for 10 years. People wanted us to lose under Moyes. People wanted us to lose under Van Gaal. We're still here. You just create this toxicity that gradually builds and builds until expectations become completely and utterly unobtainable. Surely the core of all support is to celebrate your team winning games, to have a siege mentality for your club, to fight against the external factors that try to drag you down. And all I've wanted is to see players that I can get behind, because for too long, you are, as a fan, you want that fight. You want to go, this is my club. Fuck Liverpool fans, fuck Arsenal fans. You want to have that fight, but then you look at the players on the pitch and will go, well, they haven't got the fight. They don't represent me. And last night, I saw 5 or 6 players that represent what I want. And I will shout their names from the rooftops because that is what I grew up with. I grew up with players that were in tune with the fans and what Manchester United's all about. And some of those players last night that were in tune will probably get sold because they're not going to be part of the vision going forward. But that's not a problem because it's about giving it now. And when I look at the situation and I look at what Ten Hag said about, you know, these players were playing for the club, the fans enjoyed it, and we never panicked, we never felt that we couldn't win that game. Well, I say, hear to that. And I say, what are we trying to break down? What are we trying to break down? Because I look at, you know, those players that I've mentioned, and I look at the crowd. I don't normally watch Match of the Day after I've watched the game. I watched Match of the Day last night. You can hear the crowd reacting to the goals, and I'm like, you know what? On the match reaction last night, 80% were Ten Hag in, and we had 30,000 votes. There's 75,000 fans paying to go and watch Man United play last night. They're behind the team. They're behind the manager. That, to me, I went to sleep last night with a smile on my face. And it was nothing to do with what was going on in the bed. It was to do with what went on in the pitch. It just gave me a warm feeling inside to just feel joy, to feel happiness. You know, Bruno's performance, there was, and I know it's only Sheffield United, but what's the bar? Can we really say, based on the last decade, it's only Sheffield United? What arrogance exists in these people to say it's only Sheffield United? We've been shit for 10 years. 10 years. That's a big proportion of someone's life. If you live for 100 years, that's a 1/10 of your life. We've been shit. We can't say it's only Sheffield United. We have to take what we can get, especially in the situation we're in. And I just think we're at that point now where you either get behind this or you don't. You're either with this team or you're not. And if you're not, fine. But don't start dropping in and out. Don't start trying to claim a result when you feel like it. You're either with this or you're not. The evidence is there. You're either with this team, with this club, with this manager, or you're not. What is it you're waiting for? What is it you're moaning about? Like, you know, if you're Ten Hag out, what enjoyment are you getting out of watching Man United other than just moaning? Like, why can't you get behind the team? It must be a horrible existence to just be waiting for Manchester United to lose so you can be proved right about something that many people think you're wrong about. Where's the win? This proved right mentality. I don't get it. Look, I don't think we should have got rid of De Gea. I really, really don't. And at times I've said we shouldn't have got rid of De Gea. But we did. And Onana's the goalkeeper, and I want him to do well. And even though he made a stupid mistake last night, I want him to do well because that's the world we live in. And I want Man United to win. There is no point in me going, Salah, Nana, bring De Gea back. It's not going to happen. It's a fantasy. We live in a reality. And I just think we're at that point now where you get behind this team or you don't. Because if you're not behind this team, what are you doing? You're just a bloody roadblock. Yes, you want the manager sacked. Well done. People last night were saying, I'm not watching this when Sheffield United went 2-1 up again. It's painful. It's called supporting a football team. We've got no divine right to have everything go our way. We had 20 amazing years. But the 20 years before that weren't always great. And the 10 years we've just had weren't great. But that's what supporting your team's all about. You don't switch it off. There's teams in a lot worse situation than us who'll never win anything. Get behind your team. If you support your team, back your team, fight for your team. That's what it's all about. And I think that we've got a few weeks left. We've got an FA Cup final. We're in 6th at the moment. Yeah, you can moan about the performances, you can moan about the manager, but ultimately, at the very core, surely, I just see people who just seem to have no joy in Man United winning games. And I'd take a long, hard look at yourself and say, if you can switch your joy on and off, it's a very dangerous thing. Surely the joy has to be there all of the time. Lack of communication from INEOS has left fans divided. It seems managers and players don't know where they stand, and it's entrenched in fans. I think it's a great point by Patrick. I mean, I think INEOS are playing a dangerous game, and in 2 weeks' time we'll probably lose, and people will be saying they're playing a good game. But that's, I think, what Patrick is saying. We're on this scales of up and down, which is just not helping at all. And look, I've said it about the fans. I can't be a hypocrite. I think INEOS are the same. Make your fucking decision and go with it. Because it's really hard to see fans singing and shouting for Ten Hag who are loyal match-going fans. It's really hard to see people, in our community who are loyal fans who are getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we're sort of like, what's the plan? Like, is this just all a fake? Are you playing us, basically? You're pretending that you might keep this manager, making some of us get behind the team and this manager, and then you're going to pull the rug away? Is it deceitful, or are you actually genuine? And I think that is something that is probably feeding into it. I agree with Patrick. What is it they're waiting for? Like, the decision should be made, and we shouldn't be being kept like mushrooms. And reality is, he's pretty much got the best win ratio in our history. He's took us to 2 cup finals in a row in the FA Cup. He's won the FA Cup. He's won the Carabao Cup. We're back into 6th. I don't know how the hell we are 6th, by the way. I think that's miraculous. I think it's absolutely miraculous that we're in 6th place. Every team that's played us this since Christmas has had a chance to beat us. And somehow this manager has the resilience to get some of these players to respond and find results. And that's not guaranteed in football. You know, you look at those end days of Mourinho and Ollie, they couldn't get the players to respond the way these players are. I mean, he's instantly sackable by that dressing room if they want to. They've done it before. They can do it. And they're not doing it. And we want to throw that away. I just think just get on with it. I think Ten Hag wants it. I think the fans want it. Get behind this team or don't. But I tell you what the dangerous thing is. Some of us are behind this team and some of us are behind this manager. If we get to the end of the season and they go, he's sacked, INEOS are going to lose a lot of trust because it will feel very deceitful. People don't like committing to something and then having it taken away. They feel cheated. And I think there's a siege mentality around that team at the moment, and there's a siege mentality in this fan base at the moment. And we like that. We like that. We want to believe in something. We want to get behind something, you know. We want to respond to this unfair bullshit that's out there from some people. But you're in the back of your mind, you're like, you know, are we fighting a losing battle here? And we don't want to be. I've said it before. I'm at the point now where I'd love INEOS just to say, there's a new contract, let's get on. It would make me more relaxed. I'd be like, well, fucking hell, we might actually get some good results between now and the end of the season, and we can look forward to the summer. I don't think we're going to get that, but it would be great to get that. Do you think INEOS have decided on his future, says Rory, and will wait to the summer action? If they want to keep him, they surely would have backed him, says Rory. I mean, it's scary that they may be looking to get rid of him, especially when you look at the manager market. Liverpool are going to go for Slot, which is a big risk. It just shows you the manager, you know, Barcelona have persuaded Xavi to stay. The manager market's not good. It's really not good. I'm Ten Hag in, but he has to take blame for bad signings, and the team is still moments. He needs to win the FA Cup this season. No, he doesn't, David. How can you say he's got to win the FA Cup? I mean, I think this... Graham Souness said this on TalkSport. It's the most idiotic analysis of football I've ever heard. He's got to win the FA Cup to keep his job. So, an injury hit Manchester United that's nowhere near the level of Man City has got to beat a team that's just won the Champions League in a treble. They're going to win the league again. They've won 6 of the last 7. They've got the best squad in the world. And you're saying Man United have got to beat that to keep his job. It's irrelevant. I'd even say that shouldn't change. Even if we beat them, he shouldn't keep his job. If they don't want to give him the job, don't give him the job. The Man City game cannot be the judge of that. Even if he wins, I mean, it's just not the barometer for keeping Ten Hag. I'm sorry. It's like David against Goliath. If we beat them, it's going to be with a lucky fucking stone to the eye, isn't it? Like, I completely disagree. I think the FA Cup has got nothing to do with it. And people who say, oh, you're just pro Ten Hag. No. Even if they're saying you've got to win the FA Cup to sack or you're sacked, they should just sack him even if he wins it. You can't use the FA Cup as the reason to keep him or let him go. That's just, if they're doing a strategic review, it can't just be based on the FA Cup final. That's my point. The FA Cup final cannot be if you win it, you stay, if you lose it, you go. That's not a strategic review. That's an idiotic review. It's got to be everything. That's what the decision's got to be made about. Welcome to Members Club, Mark. Thank you very much. It was only Coventry last week, but a certain overpaid prat still can't turn up and made us play like we had 10 men. The guy is detrimental to us, says Julian. Man United till the end. More fans need this mentality, says ABC. It's a shame that it's disappeared. I actually feel sorry for those fans who don't enjoy Man United winning anymore. I don't understand what that is as support. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I can't understand how people on Sunday were like, I wish we had lost on penalties because Coventry deserved it more. I couldn't give a shit about a shithouse win. I don't care. I mean, people say winning when you're playing badly is a really good thing, and now it's suddenly embarrassing. Pochettino has been absolutely dreadful this season. The media never writes anything about him. There's weird conspiracy around United at the moment. It's crazy to me that some fans are downing tools and saying we're done when we're in 6th place. If 6th is the death of the club, that's crazy, says Fozzie. I don't even know how we're in 6th place. Klopp announced he's leaving and Liverpool crumbled. We have half of the squad knowing they're not here next season and still Ten Hag got us to a final, says Space. Mark, if Man United didn't exist, a lot of the people in the media would not exist. They have an agenda against your club and that's why they have a job today, says Amir. Give Ten Hag time. Didn't support him for shit in January. He will make us great again. Mark my words, says Barrow. I just think, you know what? If they did say Ten Hag's going to be here next season today, I think we'd get better results between now and the end of the season. I do. People need to realise the job Ten Hag did last season, 3rd in Carabao Cup, is same as Liverpool this season, says Martin Saunders, which is amazing when you think of it like that. A win is a win, says Hamish. Another thing I wanted to talk about as well, I mean, I want to go through some of Eric Ten Hag's comments in a moment, but look, it's no skin off my nose how this works out. It really isn't. I'm not in control of it, but I just think it's a waste. It's a waste to create a siege mentality. It's a waste to create a fan base that wants to unite behind something and then throw it in the gutter because you think you know best. I don't see the managers that's going to come in. I won't have the same feeling towards Thomas Tuchel. I can't stand him as a coach. The German Alan Pardew. Southgate would make me want to cry. De Zerbi, I think, is an expensive risk. And that's it. That's it. That's it. That's what we're falling out about. Not really any alternative. It doesn't make any sense to me. But look, we've had that chat many times before. What I am talking about is you're either with this team or you're against it. It's as simple as that. You know, if you don't want us to win, then turn up to the watch-alongs and support the opposition. But don't come into the watch-alongs or onto social media and say, I want us to win, but I want Ten Hag out. How does that even work? So you know losing games are going to get rid of the manager, but you also want the team to win. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're either all in or you're all out at this point. And I don't understand why you'd be out, but I choose to support my team. I want us to win. I remember the Brentford game. And I got clipped up and ridiculed for celebrating as beating Brentford. It's only Brentford. It was embarrassing. I don't care. I've seen us obliterate some of the best teams in the world. And I've celebrated. It's the best feeling in the world. But I don't really care if we win playing shit. If we win, I feel better. I slept really well last night. If we'd have drawn with Sheffield United, there'd have been a part of my body that was fed up. And it would have impacted on how I slept. I want to win. I want Manchester United to win. That's it. That's basic. It's very simple. I support Manchester United. I want us to win. Very, very simple. Set up a structure above and give a man another season, says Magic. Thank you very much. But there is another element I need to discuss this morning. Bruno Fernandes. Brilliant last night. Absolutely brilliant last night. I feel that we got a glimpse of what Bruno Fernandes is all about. What made me laugh about Bruno after the game was that he said that he was trying too hard to create chances for Ethan Wheatley. And a load of people are like, oh, my captain, this, that, and the other. I did think it, so I will say it. If you tried that hard to create chances for Rasmus, things would be great, Bruno. Because I don't think he does. I don't think he has. Yesterday, the chance for Rasmus was brilliant. And I think that Bruno hasn't been doing that enough over the last few months. And people will say, well, he does. Well, he doesn't. Because Rasmus hasn't missed sitters like Jackson or Nunez week in, week out. He's hardly missed any sitters, in fact, because he doesn't get that type of service. Bruno Fernandes can be that provider. I want him to be that provider because that's his job. You look at someone like Odegaard, he's a magician. If Bruno can do it, that is what he needs to do. Was it because it was Sheffield United that he got man of the match? We'll have to wait and see. But that performance yesterday is exactly what Bruno Fernandes can do, and he's not been doing it for months. So, but of course, there is something else I need to bring in because I popped on social media this morning and I see people going, all the people jumping on the Bruno train now, this is why he's world class. Where were you 3 weeks ago? Told you so. This is why I've always said Bruno's world class. And I think you're as toxic as the Ten Hag out brigade. And actually, that's not fair. If you're Ten Hag out, you're not toxic. I'm not saying that. That's not wrong. That's not right. You've got every right to be Ten Hag out. But my point is, I just think it becomes toxic when you can't enjoy results. And I think some people just are very toxic because they're Ten Hag out and they can't enjoy results. And I think that's very sad. But these people who are doing the I told you so with Bruno, you're as damaging as any other toxicity in the fan base because what are you talking about? I told you so about Bruno. You're Player FC. You're not Man United FC. He's not played well for months. He even said it on the international break. He's not been playing well. He played well last night. That's the start of it. The last few months haven't been good enough. So these people who go, oh, look at everyone praising Bruno now. Where have you been for the last 3 months? Telling the truth. Telling the truth. He's not been good enough. He's been nowhere near good enough. Absolutely nothing like last night. So go away with your Player FC and start telling the truth. Players at Man United will get the praise when they perform. He performed last night. He gets the praise. He gets the plaudits. For the last few months, he's been nothing like that. His shots have been over the bar. He's not been creating. He's been putting the effort in. And he admitted it himself on the international break. But we always fall into this trap. We never achieve anything, really, because we're never consistent on the pitch and off the pitch. Somebody puts in a good performance, they start going back to what somebody said about that player 3 months ago. But it was valid. Look at Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire was dreadful for Manchester United. He needed selling. This season, very, very good. Last 2 games, superb. Praise. You'll get somebody going, well, I've always stood by Maguire. I've always said he's a good player. You're wrong. You're fucking wrong. He was crap 2 years ago. He was crap. Last season, he was 5th choice centre-back. This season, he's been brilliant. Give players praise for being good in a Man United shirt. Stop living up their arse as Player FC. Bruno was amazing last night. He's not been amazing the last few months. So take your told you so and bog off. Like, do you support this team or do you support individual players and I told you so? And it's tiring because it doesn't move us forward. We need to hold these players to account. Manchester United players, like Liverpool players, like Arsenal players, need to know they'll only get praise when they play well. Player FC is the most toxic thing that's ever been invented around this football club because it protects players who aren't good enough and they are protected by it. They put a tweet out and they're protected by their little Player FC group and it damages us. And it needs to be said because we know certain players who have a Player FC community and they can put a post on Instagram, they can put a post on Twitter, and if they decide to look at the replies, they can see this massive community that's behind them. We're with you. We're behind you. We love you, GOAT. And we get these inconsistent performances. What actually they should get is, oh, I'm not doing very well at the moment. I need to do better. Oh, I did well and they love me. Oh, I didn't play well in that. They don't love me anymore. Oh, I played well and they love me. That's what we need to build. It's called consistency of accountability. And we need our players to play well. And I told you so that Bruno's really good. He hasn't been good, and he knows he's not been good because he said it himself. But last night he was brilliant. I want these players to switch on to that. I want them to switch on to the fact that if you perform in a Man United shirt, you will get all the plaudits, all the love, all your brand deals, whatever. But if you don't perform in a Man United shirt, you'll be held accountable and people might say you need to be sold. It's called elite mentality. It's called consistent performance. I want to see more of that Bruno Fernandes last night, because that's the Bruno Fernandes that can be part of our future. I think there's been interesting conversations over the last few months about whether Bruno Fernandes is the right number 10 to play for a team that can play in the top 4, because he's erratic at times. He plays Hollywood passes. You know, he'll never stop running, but he's an erratic player, as Ricky has said many a time. But when he's on it, I think he's one of the better players in Europe. INEOS need to step up, set up succession planning, proper fund plus revenue management systems, infrastructure, says Stephen. Bruno has better stats than the magician Odegaard, says George. Yeah, but you can take your stats and run them up your arse. I'm sorry, I don't live life through stats. I mean, there was a tweet, was it at bloody Statman Dave or someone a month ago? Bruno played badly, and yet his stats made him look like he'd had a great game. Like, Bruno's created more chances for anybody in the league. Go and try and find those chances. They're weird. The chances are like passing 5 yards to Rashford who shoots from 40 yards. That's counted as a chance creation. How many times has Bruno created chances for Rasmus like last night? Hardly any. The quality of the chance creation is the big thing. Somebody shooting because he's passed it to them on the edge of the box, that's not a chance creation. Odegaard is infinitely better than Bruno Fernandes in the modern game. He's magnetic. He's a magician. He's always looking to probe. If you watched him against Chelsea, he put 3 wonder passes on a plate for Havertz. He is absolutely the number 10 that we need at Man United. Bruno Fernandes needs to be that guy. He can be. He showed it last night. He can be that guy. If anything, Bruno Fernandes last night was like Odegaard. He was, capable of shooting from the edge of the box and scoring, which he did. Creating chances, trying to create chances. He even spoke about it after the game. But let's not pretend that Bruno Fernandes this season is anywhere near a De Bruyne or a Foden or a Maddison before Christmas or an Odegaard. That's not what he has been, and he needs to be that. But Matrix says, come on, Mark, they're all good, but Bruno is miles better. I think you're living in the Matrix, mate. INEOS are right to keep quiet until the summer. If they announced last week Ten Hag stays, then we lose to Coventry and Sheffield United. They'd look like idiots, says Duncania. I disagree. I completely disagree. You've either made your mind up or you haven't. We can't be going into May not knowing what we're going to do with the manager. You can't go to the end of the season going, we're in, we're out, we're in, we're out, to me, to you. Like, make your fucking decision. That's what strong leadership's about. If I was INEOS, I would say, we're keeping Ten Hag, we're going public. Yes, we might finish 8th, but there's massive problems at this football club. We believe in this project with this manager, and we will stick by that regardless of what happens between now and the end of the season. I don't make your mind. I don't see any point. Set up a structure above and give man under the season, says Magic. Yep. I want to bring a comment in here. I mean, we will read these 10 hard comments, but I want to read a comment here. So it was on last night. I'd done the match reaction. I think it was in my match reaction, or it might have been a live chat on the forum, because I watched both and I was sort of flipping in and I just saw this comment. And basically, it was about Rashford. And last night, a lot of you were going on about he can't pick Rashford against Burnley. It will dishevel the team. It will destabilise it, derail, whatever. You can see the team is better without him. And I was like, it's a bit unfair because it's Sheffield United, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I read this comment and it did get me thinking. And basically what it was, and I should have wrote it down, but I remember the bones of it. Basically, they said, you can see that team mentally is better without Rashford in it. You can't underestimate how a player that's not up for it saps the rest of the team. And that was it, basically. That sparked something in me to go, oh, never thought of that before. I used to play for a team, funnily enough, I'm going to talk about a left winger. So when I was at school, 2-2, Bingham, massive. When I was 15, last year of GCSEs, we basically won everything. We played 4 tournaments and we won it all. We got kicked out of one in the semi-final. we would have won the final. But we got kicked out because somebody said something they shouldn't have said. But we were the best team in the area. And there were some good teams. And we had a guy who played on the left wing who was on playing for Notts County. Not the first team, but he was on Notts County's books. We had some people who were playing for the county. I'd had trials, etc. It was a very, very good team. There was a guy who played centre-back who was more interested in rugby and javelin. He was bloody brilliant. It was like Yap Stam. We had a really good team. And sometimes we'd play other good teams. And I remember we were playing away, and the left winger was a bit erratic, and you could see his head was down, and he wasn't playing very well, and we went 2-0 down. And at half time, he was like, I think he fell out with the coach or something like that, and he got took off, and we brought somebody on who wasn't as good. But the whole team changed because that player wasn't as good, but he was in the right mental space, and it gave us more balance and more belief, and we ended up taking it to extra time and winning. And that comment really made me think about that, because I was like, well, he was our best player, and he just wasn't. He was in a bad space. He had a bad attitude. He was throwing his hands around, and it impacted all of us, because we're like, well, he's the focal point of the team, and it just impacted us all. And then he got took off. Someone else came on, and the balance was right, and everybody just sort of had a better camaraderie. And look, I don't know whether that's the case, but what I would say is, whether you're playing pub football, Premier League football, five-a-side football, if you've got someone on your team that's not really there, it can impact on you as well. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Now, you can talk about Rashford's performance. Of course, it's not been good, but I don't think he's there anyway. I don't think he gives a persona of being there. He looks miserable. Obviously, there's something going off behind the scenes. We don't need to go into that. But he looks miserable. He doesn't look like a player that's happy or part of the team. And maybe that yesterday was a help. Maybe you look around the pitch and you go, Garnacho's on the left, Ahmad or Anthony on the right, Rasmus, Bruno, Mainu, Ericsson or McTominay, Maguire, Casemiro. I'm not saying everybody played well, but maybe the balance of the team was better mentally, because it's not just Rashford who looks unhappy. I think when Rashford's in the team, it can impact the rest of the team as well. You're passing it to somebody who's like, not, it's... Look at what the Coventry players said about Rashford on Sunday. I mean, I don't think we've mentioned this on this channel. Like, the Coventry players, apparently the feedback from them was they couldn't believe how bad Rashford was. So it's like, it's obviously going to be up to Ten Hag. And I think on Saturday afternoon, I don't know which way it's going to go. It's going to be very interesting. He could just bring him straight back into the team. And that doesn't do Ten Hag any favours. Of course it doesn't. But this is why we were talking about this ahead of the Sheffield United press conference. I really do think if there's proper journalism, a question should be said, does Rashford walk back into this team? And if he does, is that because you're under pressure to pick him? Why do you pick him? I'd ask the question. Can we take a moment and appreciate Maguire's sacking? No tantrums, no complaints, and the hell he was put through. Sancho, Rashford, another can learn from him. Well, I think we've taken more than a moment. He's had very good scores in the last 2 match reactions, and he's had a lot of praise. I mean, I don't know what hell you're talking about. I mean, he's a player that's not played well, who's been criticised, who's turned it round. They're paid good money. It's Manchester United. I don't need to start a charity fund sacking. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is where Player FC resides in the sympathy vote. Like, they're professional footballers wearing a shirt many of us would die to wear, and they're paid handsomely. Like, it's just, we don't need to start playing our tune and start doing a fucking This Is Your Life. That you play badly, you get criticised. You play well, you get praise. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. Player FC's changed all this, and it's a bad thing for football, I think. But really, it's simple. You play well, you get praise. You play badly, you get critiqued. Simple as that. He's playing superb. That header was brilliant yesterday. As they say, if you have a rotten apple next to good apples, the rest end up decaying, says Nigel. And Tom says, what's your general consensus on the Rashford selection consistency? What do we think? Career mode later? No, tomorrow. Hope all is well. The fam is well as well. Tom, I hope you're doing really well. Look, my consensus is that for the whole season, I've been wrong. I said in October, Rashford will come good. He'll be scoring goals by Christmas. And I was wrong. I can't believe this has been an all-season thing. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 9 months. 9 months. This has been going on. There's something, there's a reason for it. That's all I'd say. I don't know what that reason is, but there's a reason for it. But absolutely, I wouldn't pick him on Saturday. And absolutely, I would be having a conversation with him about moving on. But he won't. I don't think he will. We need to move on and recruit players who are talented and want to put a shift in. He needs to be sold ASAP, says Marcus. Not just any player. He's our highest earner, says Charlie. Thank you very much for that. So INEOS should give Erik Ten Hag a 5-year deal if they back him, says Duncania. No, he doesn't need a 5-year deal. He's got 1 year left. I'd give him 3. I think that's absolutely fine. A 5-year deal is dangerous and financially crippling. I think a 3-year deal would be absolutely spot on, in my opinion, definitely. Let's have a look at some of the comments from Erik Ten Hag after the game last night. Mason Mount could be back on Saturday, which on the very base, I mean, I still think Mason Mount could be a decent player for Manchester United. I mean, it's I don't want to use the word injury anymore because it's almost like you mention it and there's a tweet about someone getting injured. It's like the word we shouldn't use. But it is ridiculous. 3 injuries in your first season. I mean, he's barely played. But on a player level, you look at that bench last night. I know it was nice to see Wheatley come on, but we're so, and we saw it against Coventry, we're so lacking options. Mason Mount in the 8 role yesterday would have been quite welcome because Eriksen can't do it. And I'm not saying it's perfect for Mount, but there's almost an open opportunity in that team at the moment. So him being back would be a positive, really. He said that Bruno's very consistent at the moment. He's in very good form. I mean, look, I haven't got a problem with that. Like, you've got to big up your players. I don't think he's very consistent at the moment. I think he played his best game last night by a long way. And whatever he was doing in previous games, there's a big gap between last night and those. So I think he hit a new height yesterday. If you think he's been playing well, that's fine. But I think last night was on a different level for Bruno. So I think the consistency's gone up there. What it was below, I don't think he has been playing well. But if you do, last night was different for me. Very, very different. And that's the level he needs to play up because that's the standard I hold him to. On Casemiro, he says, I think he's been very good at centre-back together with Harry Maguire, very stable in and out of possession. I thought he was terrible in possession. I can think of 4 times, hospital passes. But I think Ten Hag is basically building up the players that are there for him. And as bad as Casemiro's been, there is also a huge positive that this is a midfielder who has gone back and done a role that nobody else can do because they're injured. So as much as Casemiro isn't the player he was last season, he still deserves a shout out and credit because he might not be playing well, but he's still doing a job for the team that if that was Scott McTominay, people would be giving him a bloody 5-year contract. Like, he's doing a job for the team in a position that he can play, but it's not really his position. There are going to be deficiencies. So, look, I've been critical of Casemiro because, again, the standard I have for Casemiro is there. I felt last season he was one of the best holding midfielders in Europe still. This season, he's just not. So the level in performance has dropped, but he's never a player that's not going to put a shift in. And at centre-back, he's been absolutely essential for us. Is there any other club than PSG that would want Rashford to Samuel? I don't think they do. I don't think they will. Rory says, do you think INEOS will sit and have a hard conversation with Rashford, open to letting him go? Nope. I think he stays. Wesley, Flakin and Sarr have got more assists than Rashford this season. They're both goalkeepers, Wesley. I can't believe that's true. He also said that he was asked if the final 15 minutes was his side at his best last night. He said, no, the 70 minutes at Wembley were much better. We can play very good in moments. It's not easy when there are many changes. He said, when we fell behind, did you see any panic? No, not at all. We were very composed. We kept making chances throughout the game. And he said that Bruno is in amazing form and that's what we need in a number 10. He said we gave away 2 goals and it made it difficult for ourselves, but we had to show resilience. It's not only today. They've got an amazing fighting spirit. And And Bruno also said it's part of the job. You can win 8 or 9 games in a row, and then as soon as you lose, you know you'll be criticised. Being a Man United player demands winning games. I mean, Bruno understands it. He understands it. Like, I don't think Bruno wants to be part of Player FC. I think Bruno actually gets it. And he spoke in his international break that he's not playing well. So Bruno knows that you're only as good as your last performance. Ten Hag said, we're striving to progress with this team. The number of goals we're scoring in this moment is a huge progress. If we have our back four, then I'm sure we'll be more consistent. I mean, well, look, the flip side is we've scored 7 goals in 2 games. We've also conceded 5. So that defence is going to concede goals. I don't know why people think we're going to keep clean sheets with a defence that's like that. We will concede goals. The midfield is depleted as well. But we're scoring goals, which is better. The possession's been better, but obviously the flip side will be it's Coventry and Sheffield United. We're going to have to try and do this against better teams, which is going to be difficult because we can't put our best team out, far from it. As I said on the watch-along last night, you get people like Gary Neville saying it's only Martinez and Luke Shaw are injured. But, I mean, that's just such an infuriating comment, isn't it? Because it's not true. It's not Martinez and Shaw who are out. It's all your left-backs and all your left-sided centre-backs. We don't have a left-sided centre-back and we don't have a left-back. So when Shaw and Martinez are out, it's not just they're out, the backups aren't there either. So you don't have a left-back and you don't have a left-sided centre-back. You know, it's not the same basically as saying that Van Dijk and Robertson are out because they could play Konate and Gomez at left-back and left-sided centre-back. Or they could put Tsimikas in there. We don't have a left-back when Luke Shaw is injured, and we don't have a left-sided centre-back when Martinez is injured. That's massive to a team. If a team plays on Saturday and we don't have a left-back and a left-sided centre-back, it damages you. It damages the way you attack down the left. It damages the way you defend down the left. So it's not just Martinez and Shaw. We don't have anybody else who can do it. And that's partly because Malassi has been out for a year, partly because the club was stupid and let Reguilon go back, and partly because we didn't buy the centre-back that Ten Hag wanted in the summer. Terp says, why doesn't Gary Neville admit that he's Ten Hag out? Well, I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he is. I just don't think he dare say it because he's scared of being called a hypocrite because he backed Ollie so much. My brother is asking if you're sackable for criticising snowflake players. Says Dab, I don't know what that means. Chuff Monsters are Player FC and Eric Ten Hag out, says Avi, because they haven't witnessed the standards of this club. All they have is YouTube clips of the past. COVID Bruno is what we really want to see, says Umzi. And is there a, thank you very much for that. Just a couple of other things to bring in as well. Of course, I mean, one of the big positives of last night was getting another academy player on in Ethan Wheatley. This is something where we've been brilliant at this over the last 18 months. The pathway from the youth team to the first team is so clear. Do we want to risk that? Some people do. Some people don't think it's that important. And again, about Ten Hag, we want to play dynamic attacking football. That is what we want to see. Since the winter, we've created lots of chances and we've scored a lot of chances as well. And I think the big thing that was most important was what he said about Rasmus. That with Rasmus, that goal can now really be important for him. But it's Rasmus, Bruno. It's all the same, isn't it? It's always about. It's always about the service. The service. I saw someone last night, though. I mean, this is where we get problems as well. When Rasmus scored his goal, he crashed into Garnacho, and somebody said it's clear that Rasmus and Garnacho don't like each other because Rasmus just sort of brushed him away and Garnacho didn't grab him and he had to go and celebrate with Bruno. And I'm like, we're analysing body language from goals. Like, you know, my wife and kids could be there if I scored a worldie and I'd run in the other direction. Like, if you've ever scored goals, there is no logic. There is no logic to it. Like, and also, I think he wanted to go and praise Bruno for the pass because he's not been getting the service. So I think that, look, Garnacho put a brilliant cross in for Maguire. He can do that. We don't see that enough from the left-hand side. I think it's fine. Duncania says, Ten Hag doesn't deserve a new deal. See how next season goes. You can't do that, mate. You can't do that. It's impossible. It's impossible. You cannot send a manager into a last season where his contract's out at the end of it. It's basically like Klopp announcing he's leaving. It's never worked. You can't have a manager going into the last season with their contract running down. It's an absolute nightmare because the players don't respond to it because they're like, oh, is he going to go? Is he going to stay? You've got to have, in the modern game, you've got to have certainty and structure. Players hate it when there isn't that there. You've got to have it. Look at when Sir Alex Ferguson said he was going to retire 10 years before he did. The results went bloom, and that was a good United side, and the results plummeted. Look at Klopp and Liverpool. Their results, the pressure, they can't deal with it. I'm telling you now, footballers don't like it when they haven't got certainty around them because they're thinking, am I going to be here next year? Is he going to be here next year? The best way to build success is to have consistency and a vision. And we can't go into next season with his contract running down. It would be a stupid idea. Do you miss going to live games, especially with your son? I don't, Rob. This is about the 5th time I've been asked this. If you're trying to get in and some niche little thing, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. 115,000 people watching the Coventry game on Saturday. I love watching Manchester United. I've been to watch Manchester United loads of times. I will go again. But whatever this is, it is what it is. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Don't question what I do. It is what it is. It's an absolute juggernaut, and we'll keep riding it for as long as it goes on. And when it stops, or when I stop, there'll be plenty of games that I can go and watch. Simple as that. You don't need to worry about it. And I know what your angle is because people weirdly get obsessed with it. Take it off somewhere else. I'm not here to talk about that. You're just trying to ruin something that actually is one of the only things that's speaking the truth around Manchester United at the moment. And I'll take it back to the start. I don't understand why people don't enjoy Manchester United winning games anymore. I don't get it. And I know a lot of you do, but I don't get it. We have got a 7 o'clock show tonight because I'm going to be watching, I don't really want to do it, but Man City, Brighton, hopefully Brighton can get a result. We might put ourselves in a situation where we want Arsenal to win the league. Well, we are in that situation, but we might put ourselves in a position where Arsenal beating us at Old Trafford might not be a bad thing. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. Would you rather have Bailey or Evans? What, Leon Bailey or Johnny Evans? Leon Bailey. Pep's contract ends in 2025. City seems stable, says Duncania. Oh, God. I mean, you've had a hat-trick of Pratt comments, mate. I mean, I'd end it there. It's the perfect hat-trick. So we're now comparing Pep Guardiola to and Man City to Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag. Okay. Time to end the stream. I can only deal with so much. It's a fantastic community, but there will always be... It's open to everybody, isn't it? There'll always be these. Preview. Burnley, 2 o'clock, live. We don't have much of a turnaround. We played Wednesday night. We're playing Saturday afternoon. Maybe we should have a bit of a moan about this. You know, Pep was moaning about this. Wednesday night and playing Saturday, it can be a big, quick turnaround. Obviously, with the injury crisis that we've got. So, 2 o'clock. Take care, everyone. And I'll speak to you all later. Thanks for watching.